Good day, Marisburg Power Podcast viewers. This is part 2 of the education topic here. So now we get deep into the education and the early childhood development. I was very intrigued to hear about programs that is done by these various institutions, which now gives me an opportunity to see, okay, let's form a collaboration amongst these institutions with our libraries. So we'll see. Okay, and moving, besisa kulumane now our guest, Mr. Zungu, in terms of, he was explaining in the institution as Imen Kosa. So Mr. Zungu, yes, Imen Kosa as an institution and competitiveness, which level is it?
I think for me, when it comes to education, we're not looking at the competition per se,
okay,
but we're looking for impact. And for us, we're going to be lucky if you come and study with us. If you're talking about competition to that level, we're going to be lucky. But as long as you know what is it that you need to do and you are guided accordingly, then it becomes easy for us, because our aim is to have a better Africa. So to have a better Africa, we are in South Africa, we need to start to prepare and invest in South Africa, so that when we export, could be our skills or whoever, we want to make sure that the caliber of people that we produce as the institution, they are able to deal with whatever that is the labor sector or labor space is requiring them for. So for us, whoever that we work with, or whoever that if I can use the word, competing with, it's not much of a big deal, because we understand that institution B is also making an impact, which contributes to the bigger vision of what South Africa wants to achieve, or what we in the African continent wants to achieve when it comes to education. And in most cases, higher education institutions or organizations, they seen as the last phase in preparing someone for the working environment. So it means if we don't do our level best, irregardless of what umuntu ufike njani, but if we don't do our level best, we're setting a different standard, because if you're not equipped enough to do whatever that the labor is requiring you to do, this means we're setting you for failure. So that is why at our institutional level, we have a group of expertise. We have colleagues who is their responsibility to ensure that they keep creating these relations and partnership with companies, so that from time to time we understand the changes that are happening in the working environment, so that whoever that we are producing is able to face and deal with the challenges that are happening in the working environment.
Definitely.
It's very important. I tell you that, just to add further on that as well, I'm a qualified engineer. I start working, and let's say I've become good in terms of my job, and ultimately I get promoted. Then when you get promoted, you then realize at your supervisory or management level, as you go higher, that which you had learned throughout, especially at tertiary, isn't enough or adequate to make you a better person in that new role. There's a leadership aspect, because when you are in the leadership position or supervisory position, you are actually leading people. And when you lead people, then you realize there are some competences that you will require to be a successful person and lead the entire team. So what I've seen that most of the institutions of higher learning have responded to is they've now introduced leadership programs that are responding to that aspect, which renders people unproductive. Good engineer, but gets sacrificed by this new dilemma in this new position, which they were not prepared for. So hence this amplifies the need for mentorships, the need for coaching to prepare you better even higher positions as you go up the ladder. So I'm just gonna, my point basically being, we need, I think, more of these programs as now being done by institutions of higher learning. And they shouldn't just be like a once-off, and I think there's a need to even to review the curriculum of those programs. Then it is more up to date, it more responds to this dynamic challenge which definitely is facing us. Because the key thing is about being productive. Being productive is key.
Yeah, it is definitely. Being productive, yes. There's a child-headed family. I'm a child-headed family. Like I'm heading a family at home. Yes. I need to make sure I need to make sure that nami ngiyakwazi ukufunda. I'm only 15 and the extended families are back, or there's no assistant in terms of that. How do I get this productive in school where else I have so much responsibility even for my siblings?
Yes.
How do I maneuver around that?
Okay, firstly, this thing, it starts to educators themselves. As educators, we are not there as professionals who are there to teach and earn money at the end of the day, but we are there as social workers. We are there as parents. So me as a social worker, me as an educator, I must be able to know and identify all the learners, their behaviors, and I must be able to see them through their emotions. So the child who is 15 years old and who is staying with a grandmother or without a parent, we do have those kinds of kids, and they are not brave enough to speak. But educators, when learners are registering at school, that's the information that educators must get. And all those things. That's why each and every school, they have a committee that assist the learners who are coming from very disadvantaged families. They need to take those learners to social workers so they can get assisted. Imagine a learner who is 15 years old, wazini ngokuba ubaba, wazini ngokuba umama. But at the same time, uThanda Mbeki Foundation uthi education and educators bebodwa abakwazi ukuthi balwe yonke lento esila. That's why sisinayo i-foundation efana nale yethu. Le yethu ilo kakhulu nabantwana abahlukumezekile. Because most educators are not aware that learners, especially abafana abadlwengulwe emakhaya, they are not aware that abafana are not supported well like abantwana bamantombazane, yabo. And of which as educators sinesafunda ema-college we did psychology. Eyayisho umbone umntwana, uyakwazi ukumbona umntwana i-behavior yakhe, uyakwazi ukubona umfana indlela ahleli ngayo, indlela akuphendula ngayo. So sina sesiyi-foundation i-KZN ayisebenzisi uma benabo abantwana bababonayo ukuthi no, lo mntwana lo sibona ngathi unenkinga. uThanda Mbeki Foundation unama-psychiatrists asebenza nawo, unama-social workers asebenza nawo, isebenza ne-Durban Libraries, isebenza ne-UKZN. Why are we working together? Why are we collaborating? We are collaborating so to assist the learner who is coming from a disadvantaged family. This is why kulo nyaka or last year in my private schools ngizovumela ababi nayo i-problem yaba-learners who are dropouts. They don't have a problem of learners who are failing. Why? It's because mostly ama-parents abo ayakwazi ukuthi afford zonke lezi zinto lezi emakhaya bangakwazi ukuthi bayi-afford. And another big issue, it comes from us women. Labantwana esibafundisayo banomama bayingane ezingenabo babe emakhaya. And if mina ngumuntu wesifazane ngikhulisa umntwana omfana is never saw a father figure at home. Uzoba ubaba onjani ngaze ambone ubaba ukuthi ubehave kanjani. That's why sesithola sinamaphara amangaka. That's why we are finding ourselves sinabantu besilisa abangaka abagcwele emajele. This is why sithola sinabantu abesilisa aba-angry. They are angry because they don't know who they are, and South Africa as a whole is not supporting males. As we speak, abantu besilisa at the age of 35 awusavumelekile uku-apply. Sisabenze njani uba bengasa-apply imisebenzi? Abahambe babeyoba iy'nkabi babambe inkunzi babuye bazohlukumeza. So there's a lot. Umntwana nje osuke emncane without guidance yomzali kunzima ukuthi akhule, but isikole isikhonela lokho.
Yeah, okay. So nake nacamanga ukuthi mhlawumbe i-foundation ye-Brothers for Lives. Like
Angiyazi Brothers for Life. I want to see.
Okay. example, like usually it's bazongitshela obaba mengabuthi ngiyaphosisa ibona ngumthetho abafana ukuthi basebenzisane nani focus mainly focus yabo it's lokhunjana uplifting and motivating and lokhunjana for male figures.
Just to add on that one, it's not only them, there are other organizations that are purely focusing on developing a male boy into becoming a man.
Yes.
So it is important that maybe obviously we
Yeah,
will say
yes,
but kubalulekile ngempela to prepare umuntu wesilisa ekumkhosini kahle, because in most cases all the horrible stories that we hear, that we see on a day-to-day basis, when we dig down and we find out that there was a gap endleleni umuntu was akhuliswe ngayo, and now it's affecting how he behaved at the later stage of his life. So it's not going to be a mission to get those organizations to come on board.
Lastly, as much as we are trying to balance the imbalances of the past, look to abantu besifazane sibanikeza ama first opportunities, better opportunities. Yes, most women are victims, but we can't leave behind the perpetrators. I'm not saying all men are perpetrators, but we can't leave them behind. We need to know exactly and we need to find solution, because uma soqhubeka sapho saba perpetrate ama victims, it means lokho sibayekile abantu besilisa abantwana bekhulu, and honestly i-rate abantwana besilisa abakhulu ababosikhotheni each and every year is going up.
No, definitely. You know, if you drive around town, almost every robot, you come across mainly boys asking for money, food, or whatever. And if you go to prisons and interview most of the guys that are there as to why or what led them to commit crime, and even the street kids that are around here, what made you be here? There's one common theme that you pick up in terms of experiencing just the warmth of love. And then you ask yourself, and mostly they'll cite the father, absent father.
Yes.
And for me, the issue basically goes back to one thing, one has to reflect. I don't think, first and foremost, as an individual, as a man, what is your role within your individual space, given the family, your kids, or whatever, starting with I first. I think the nice kickoff will be there. So when we go to groupings of men, we go there with same mission, because I started converting or transforming before I get there. It's the same as when someone is an alcoholic, you drag them to these institutions where they rehabilitate. If that person is not willing or not ready, it
will never change.
Exactly. So it starts like that, where self-acknowledgement that listen, I this is how I need to be affecting my immediate space positively. This is how. So once you start with the I, then it's a good kickoff. So that's how these formations of men and men's forum and things like that will be effective.
Definitely.
Because we will be driven by that will to make a change. So that because there's no doubt that the social ills, they are on the increase. Be it GBV, be it violent crimes, and all that, so they're on the rise. And I think the solution mainly rests with how we invest time in our family, even if it's a single handle family. So one has to devote that time and space to find themselves and to allocate enough time to spend with family and kids and all that, so that they learn from you as a present father or grandparent.
No, definitely. Yeah. So, nina nikwazi ukudila kanjani as kulaba abangena e-library because ngidila ngenhlobo ukuthi omunye uloud omunye uwenza njani. Do you really look into it misbehavior yakhe, or do you just send them off and say no bangumsindo phuma because it's like that?
Well, thank you very much. No, firstly, I would like to start, agreeing with my guest in many issues in terms of the social illness, because I think in regard to that question, and social illness too, is that we have actually moved away from our identity. My brother spoke of knowing, yourself.
Yes.
We have actually moved away from our identity as African. If we can actually state, the fact is that during the old days, a child was not my child, but it was a child of the community.
Yeah.
So a child was actually raised by the community.
Yeah.
So in regard to this aspects of manhood, is that one of the issues is that we've actually moved away from who we are as African. We've actually adopted a foreign culture that we actually don't understand, as it is, because as African, we actually raise a child as a community. There's no part where you oyothola khona ukuthi ingane uma ngabe ibonakala ngizokwenza umzekelo emgaqweni isephutheni ngezikhathi zobaba bethu nanoma umuntu umuntu omdala usuwedlule ifica isephutheni uyathatha uswazi because naye ingane yakhe because ingane yomphakathi yonke. So now we have actually adopted a Western selfish culture, because you are now thinking of only your family. You don't care about ukuthi umakhelwane udlile yini, umakhelwane kanjani. So uma ngi-right mina hayi kuphelile nengane zami hayi kuphelile hayi umakhelwane ukuthi iy'ngane zakhe zinazo ngicathulo nozokuya esikoleni hayi akuhlangene nami lo. So we've actually lost our identities, I think, as African. In regard in terms of Lebra, when in a community, it's a very difficult environment, because you deal with different people. But you have to understand one thing, I am the servant of these people. So yes, you have to understand, and able to adapt in their behavior, because they are different. Some would actually understand, in a library, it's an environment where you behave like this. But some they know, but because of their behavior, bazokwenza izinto vele eziphuma out of line. Well, ayikho into edlula ukuthi umuntu ukhulume naye in a manner that will be approachable, understand. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think what is important for us, and allow me to say this, the biggest question is what next?
Yes.
Now, if we say all of us we are concerned about what is happening in our society,
Definitely.
but what is our response? Is our response in line with the challenges, or everyone is doing their own thing on the corner? So I can challenge all of us right now to say, at the minute we step out from this venue, we have an idea of what is it that we need to do, where we need to do it. That is aiming to focus on education. I mean, if she's a primary school teacher or principal, and we are running our projects that are talking to address the issues of education, that means we need to find a program that we do together. Now he is on a corporate space, he knows what is happening post our student. It means he needs to make time and address and engage with our student, not wait until they get to that environment. Remember, we are, I'm talking about on our space, we are a higher education institution. Most of our feeder is somebody that went through primary and secondary education. So we have a great relations with the high schools. Same things apply. The high schools that happens to feed us, we need to understand where they're getting their learners at the primary level. So if I'm partnering with high school A, I have to partner with primary B, because both of them, they assist the product and the outputs that I'm gonna feed the industries. So it is very important for us. Immediately when we leave this venue, we know exactly what is it that we need to do together and where do we start. That's the bottom line. Yeah, because we've identified the issues.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with you. A collaboration is needed, a partnership is needed, and you're all doing in a link. Yonke into eniyenzayo. Into engifisa ukubuza is that, are we happy with the 30%?
30%.
The 30% pass rate.
Oh.
Are we happy with the 30% pass rate? Is it working for our stages? We have stages. We have Usisi Lana, who is a teacher. Is it? Is it working for you? We corporate. Is it working for you? The 30%.
Okay, firstly, what I've observed when I was in high school, because that's where I spend a lot of my time, not all learners who are Pokmako can be able to go to universities. Me, personally, I still believe very much in skill-related trainings. Like now, I am a principal, but I'm indlela esibafundise ngayo, they tend to undermine, and they undermine things that brings food in their table. So we need, uma siyothisha sikwazi ukubona ukuthi lo mntwana yena uyazama but unama skills, and ama skills akhe ala asikhulume nabazali, masikhola abazali beze kwi-meeting sim-advise ukuthi akhona ama-FET, we need not to undermine ama-FET colleges, because that's where abantwana bekwazi ukuthi bangagcini ukuyohlala befuna imisebenzi, but they can create job opportunities ngoba bazohamba beyofundela amakhono baphinde baqashe abanye abantu. So we need to, as much as we are trying to balance again, but ake sibuke ukuthi ingabe lo mntwana sifuna e-university ngampela noma lo mntwana ka-grade 9 angasuka ukuze sibalekele lo 30%, uba lo 30% asola grade 12 ngeke uzomise indawo, basukube uye e-FET nge-report lakhe la grade 10 bezofika asolo enibani enibani. Thank you.
Okay. Melkhosa. Ihamba kanjani? Bese isuka la kumem lana bafika benjani labantu?
I guess it depends how you look at it.
Okay.
And the way it is portrayed and explained in the Ndaba 30%, to some people it can be confusing. I remember our minister, Umamu Engineer, was explaining to say, how did we come to this 30% and 40%? So to some people, and they're confused with it, because actually, in my understanding, actually, with ingane ipasangala about 30%. Now it means angwazi futhi mina njengothisha noma njenge-institution B to enforce uwanda to continue with, I'm just making an example, to continue with the history, whereas we've identified potentially here when it comes to agriculture. Now from where I'm sitting, I want to believe that maybe it was designed in that manner to say, even if you're struggling on this, but because of the routes that you're going to take post your high school level, now if we're going to be honest about this, and there are platforms, and most of the people, brave people, they've come out openly to say, most of the things that I've learned in high school, in my high school life, maybe I'm using 10% of it.
Yes.
So that's another problem on its own, you know. But if we are saying we want to solve the problem that we have right now and prevent it going forward, so that way we need to start to say, with this 30% that we have on our system, what is it that we are doing with it? So that way the FET comes in to say, we have institutions that are offering skills program. At FET level, I know that you don't even have, I'm not promoting people to come this down the tree, but there are programs that you can do it without even having a grade 12. With your grade 9, grade 10, there is a skills program that you can benefit from. So those are the conversations that our parents need to understand. Because for me, it will be selfish of me on pushing down the throats in physics or in mathematics to my child, whereas in our sons and capabilities to say he wanna be hands-on. We're not promoting the they must aim below 30% or 40%. But some people, they are not gifted when it comes to education. We must be honest with that. Previously, I will make an example about a soccer player. We know that most of the soccer players, but they focus on their talent and it's working for them. Exactly. So it depends. where are you when you considering and judging this thing, you got 30% or 40% of what you, from your point of view, does it work, or are you able to assist someone that have, or who is in this mess at 30% or not, or when you just say this is not working. Now, if it's not working, what is it that we need to do? We know a process policing is an aspect of this company. Yes, changing the police can be a mission, but in the meantime, what is it that we are doing? So that's
Absolutely.
Okay.
Given the aspirations of our country, especially key focus areas being economic development, unemployment, reducing unemployment rate and all that. Look, how we resuscitated the FETs, there was a need, basically, given some of the people or learners were passionate to go all the way, tertiary, be qualified technician or engineer. Some just wanted a skill-based program, which FET normally offers. But when you look at, for you to be a successful, let's say, plumber, there is some technical understanding of calculations, how you place pipes, at what angle, things like that, that you need to at least have. So, does 30% meet that bare minimum? If yes, and I think it's a tick. If not, we might have to review that, because the truth is there is a need definitely for those trades. Hence, the FETs currently fulfilling that mandate in our economy.
Okay, definitely. My viewers, I think this was a mouthful. This was a real mouthful. But part 3 will continue soon, hopefully, at the available of our guest. So now, thank you for watching, and keep discovering in Maritzburg and on Maritzburg Power Podcast. This is your girl, Ubadungile Mkize. Thank you for viewing.
Thank you.